Quindi non possiamo parlare di economia perché troppi termini tecnici
No,
non li capiamo.
direi proprio di no.
Politica.
Possiamo parlare di politica in generale, però non è tanto il periodo in questo.
No. Stand up io la escluderei. Alla fine della fiera siamo italiani, che cazzo ne sappiamo?
Che ne sappiamo? Loro non sanno di cibo. Calcio è una buona idea.
Soccer? Is it okay if we talk about soccer?
Calcio, perfetto.
Tutti d'accordo.
Perfetto, calcio.
That's perfect for us. Very good. Sounds good.
That's a good question, because stand-up comedy theoretically is more offense than defense. And Italian soccer, calcio, is very defense.
Yes. So it's a yes. Your theory.
Maybe. Good theory. Interesting theory.
I think definitely. I think you're known as the country that knows how to defend. You've got some of the greatest defenders. I always think about Franco Baresi.
Yeah.
I think about
Maldini,
who was playing until he was, I think, 41 or 42. Shirea, remember him? Gaetano Shirea.
Yeah.
These are magnificent players. Who else? Let's
great
prove
goalkeepers.
Great
goalkeepers.
Well.
Yeah.
All the goalkeepers, Dino Zoff. You've
Yeah.
got, they're all fantastic. So I think, the war has definitely something to do with your DNA to defend. Definitely in England, the biggest cliche is we take each game as they come.
I had a coach who was an Italian coach once when I was, how old was I? I was 10. When I was 10, one of my soccer coaches, his last name was Parisi, and he would always tell us to lock up. We get one goal, and then we lock up.
Italian.
Yep.
I will tell you this, though. I'll give you some interesting Chelsea information that on the first day of training when Antonio Conte was there, through a translator, the first thing he said was, "You've seen me at the World Cup, at the European Championships." He was very animated. And he said, "L'uomo nobile non perdere son cura infantile," which means the noble man never loses his childlike heart. And that's the first thing he said to the Chelsea players. I heard this from John Terry, and they were all shocked that he said, what you lost in the season before was your childlike love of the game. You have to find your love of the game. And I think in life in general, if I ever don't feel motivation for something, is I don't feel it. I haven't connected with that childlike playfulness. And that's the first thing Conte did. He got them loving the game again. I have two boys. I used to watch them play soccer, and my one boy was playing for a team that had an American female coach, and she just gave oranges. She never gave a team talk. They were a good team. And I said, "Do you want me to give a team talk once?" He said, "Sure." And at halftime, they were losing. And I said, "Guys, come round." And I said, "Can I speak?" And I said, "Guys, you got to get hard." And I was doing all this, getting hard. You got down this. And I was telling him what to do. And I overhyped them. And then my son broke a kid's leg because he got so excited. And I was banned. I was banned from watching for a whole year because actually it's the parents that live through the children. But I think that that's the thing. The parents are just trying to transfer their childlike love of the game to their children. So I'm all for it. I think the youthful side of all of us in every aspect of life, even as stand-up comedians, that's something we always have to connect with.
That lack of fear you had when you were a kid, and that just pure excitement for just playing, just play. You're not worrying about stuff. It's just play. You're not thinking about the business. But the parents would often add an uglier element to it. And then the coaches were often psychopaths. And in America, whenever you had an American coach, you just fucking hated it because you knew they were going to suck. I had many coaches over the years. The coach that really taught me how to see the game, read the game, play the game was a former professional player who played in the U.S. He was from Belgium, and he was also a referee in the National League here. And he was very intimidating, and you were definitely scared of him, and there was a lot of yelling, but he taught me how to see the game, But yeah, no, I can see, kids getting traumatized by coaches that are at minimum verbally abusive. Good question. Very good question.
I remember I was 10 years old and you just want to play football. And then once I got kicked in the penalty area and I didn't go down, he goes, "Why didn't you go down?" I said, "Because I didn't lose my balance." He goes, "Next time you get kicked, if you get kicked, snap your head back." He goes, "Go snap and go down." And this was in our training. We'd run with the ball and then kick and then snap your head back and go down. And I did it the next week and we got a penalty. So I love that. I love that my teacher was giving me those tricks. I like to know those things.
Here's the soccer ball. NASL, that was the league. And that was the league that the New York Cosmos, who had Pele and Beckenbauer, and
Chinaglia.
this ball, and I'm going to find the Cruyff autograph here.
What year is that, Judah?
This is about 1979 or 1980.
79. Amazing.
There's his autograph, Cruyff's
Johan
autograph.
Cruyff, beautiful.
Yeah. This was another favorite soccer team of mine, the Baltimore Blast. This was an indoor team. So in 1983, the U.S. Soccer League folded. It went away, or it was 1984. So then we had no outdoor league for about 13 years, and but we had an indoor league, and we had some great players. This was my favorite player, Stan Stamenkovic, Yugoslavian guy who used to play for Red Star Belgrade, and phenomenal ball control, even though he was a heavy-set guy. The U.S. is more capitalist than the European countries. So with soccer, there weren't timeouts. So they didn't know how to know what they couldn't figure out TV commercials. So in the 1980s, when they played soccer games on TV, they had commercials. So they would be playing the game, and then for 10 minutes later, they would cut to a commercial, and then they would come back, and then they would mention how one team scored, but they wouldn't even show the replay because it already happened. So, and then as soon as the game was over, they would never interview any of the players. We actually had TV commercials during the game, and the final score of the game might be 3-2, but we would only see one or two of the goals.
That reminds me, I once listened to a radio broadcast when I was living in New York, doing that show with Whoopi Goldberg, and I couldn't get the Premier League results. And they'd say, and now the sports results, they do the basketball, Celtics did, then they go ice hockey, and they goes the English Premier League results: 1-0, 3-2, 4-3, 0-0, 2-1. And now we go to MLS. I said, I didn't even know who they could split the numbers. I couldn't believe it.
That's crazy. I started playing it, I don't know, I can't remember if it was 6 or 8, and I was living in Southern California then. Even back then in the 70s, it was, I think, the most or second most popular sport for kids. And and I was really serious on it. And, I wanted to play pro and stuff. And then I remember it was in 1983 or 1984 where the U.S. League went bankrupt and it stopped. So it was like the dream died, and I was around, 14, 15 then. And there was no league. And then, so I think a lot of guys, I still played, was still really serious. But at 16, I got interested in stand-up comedy. And I started writing jokes. Then I started doing stand-up at 19. So I still played. And then even in my 30s, like late 20s and 30s, I played on a men's team.
I have to go. Vi saluto. The hard load goal. Pago io, I pay for everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
We'll get the tip.
And the team I played in New York was really international. It was probably like 5 or 6 British guys, a couple Irish guys, some guys from Honduras, a few American guys, a guy from Yemen, a guy from Ukraine. And we all met playing on the street in New York City in this one park, in Tompkins Square Park in the East Village. We'd have 5-a-side street games. In the U.S., there's still a lot of college stuff, but more and more teams are starting to get young soccer players to turn pro basically after high school, which is kind of the way you have to do it, I think.
Amazing, because the English system is if you play for your school team, especially those big schools. I went to a school with 2,000 people, so
yeah,
of the 50 boys want to play soccer, they chose the top 13, 14 players, and you felt like a star. And then if we did really well, there'd be scouts from the big teams at Chelsea, Fulham. They'd come and watch you, and then there'd be a regional team. So I played for, when I was 11, the Kensington and Chelsea district team, and then as I was older, I played for West London. So there was a whole West London, and we would play.
Oh, cool.
We would play Manchester. We play South Manchester. They play East Leeds. It was a big league, so you go the whole day. And then if you impressed in the regional team, then you got a trial, and you get your big trial. I had my big trial at Chelsea. Chelsea Football Club was like a big thing, and in those days it was. I remember it so clearly. It was so basic and brutal. You just went to the stadium. There was about 30, 40 boys, and you'd been recommended by the scout, so you felt like you were big. And they gave you a bib, a yellow bib, orange bib, and they made you play.
I had 3 trials, or Modena, Bologna, and Sampdoria, but I was never picked. So at the end, and after the third, I resigned, and I decided not to play football anymore. Cut to 25 years later, I started stand-up comedy.
That's all of. I think all of us are hurt. We're all hurt rock stars or hurt sports people. Because when I was 14, there was a kid who was 12. I was playing left back. This 12-year-old kid was right wing. And he was so fast, he destroyed me for the whole 20 minutes. I was destroyed. That kid, he went on to play for Everton. His name was Stuart Barlow. And I saw him play. I remember thinking, that kid, a thin, blonde-haired kid, he was like a pro. And he wasn't even interested in Chelsea. They were just one of the trials he did. And Chelsea wanted him, and he said, no, I don't want to. And he went off to play for other teams. But
Stuart Barlow, it comes to Barlow on the volley. Superb effort from Stuart Barlow. Was criticised at the weekend for missing 2 or 3 chances against Liverpool at Anfield, but has answered his critics.
I got so destroyed that there's a wound, a childhood wound. I have, seriously, judo, I have mental wounds the size of Alaska. And I think only the validation of thousands of people laughing is the only thing that can heal that wound.
Omid, you got to let that go, man.
I can't let it go.
You can still do comedy without that pain. You can still do it. I still juggle the ball, or is what you call in England keepy-uppy. You play keepy-uppy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still do that and work on tricks on my own and stuff. But yeah,
How many can you do?
I can just keep going, until I'm tired usually. So
no, but what's the most you've done in one go? Keep you up.
So I can't remember. I remember being in soccer camps when I was a kid, and I was somewhere, but I think I was around 11 or something like that, or 10, and we would have competitions for feet only, thighs only, head only. And I remember then I was like, I think I had the record. I had like 267 in a row just on the thighs. But because I was at that age, I was better at juggling with my thighs than I was with my feet. But now I'm better with my feet, because juggling on your thighs, that's a lot of, moving your legs up and down, and I'm old, so it's harder to. I get tired.
Who's your favorite player?
Favorite player ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably Messi, the recent. Haji on the 1994 Romanian team. I love Haji.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. I was a big Stoichkov fan then. Baggio was great. There were just so many great players. In America, there was this, like I said, this guy, Stan Stamenkovic, who was a Yugoslavian, I believe, Serbian guy. Apparently he played for Red Star Belgrade for a little bit, had some knee problems, came to the U.S. He was actually very heavy. He was quite overweight, but just phenomenal ball control. There's some videos of him on YouTube.
Here's Stamenkovic doing what he does best, working the ball in close. Stamenkovic coming in, spinning. It's in! What a goal! Unbelievable! You have just seen one of the most spectacular goals ever scored in the Major Indoor Soccer League.
I don't want to dig, but it's a self-revelation, a fantastic self-revelation. The thing that you said before, that you had to heal somehow that wound, that deep wound, just getting a new form of validation, more or less.
Exactly. Like you, I see Luca, Judah. Luca is a great thinker, and I know that, as you can tell by the quality of the questions, this isn't just about, what's your favorite goal?
Sure.
He's very esoteric, and the conversations we've had, that's why he's interested to know how, as comedians, we've used sport or pain or any pain in our lives to push us. I mean, he sees you as a great you're a great comedian. You are the champion. You're the world champion.
True. True.
But you must have had some wounds, like we've all had.
No, but also, I never looked at it that way. But I actually look at soccer sometimes as far as, the art of soccer can be sometimes similar to the art of comedy. If you're dribbling the ball and you want to fake out the defender and dribble past them, when you feint or make a fake, that's almost like the setup in a joke. And then, because they fall for the setup, and then you do the joke they don't sing, and then that's like dribbling past them. So I think soccer can have many metaphors and analogies for life. When you create space in soccer, it's not just what you're doing with the ball. It's what you're doing when you don't have the ball. And there's so many analogies for that in art and in comedy.
I had this great conversation, very happy with, Eden Hazard, the player, with Chelsea player who's now at Real Madrid. And I asked him once, you don't always dribble. He says no, because what happens is you try and dribble the ball, and then if they put two players on you, that's when you have to think differently. You have to play 1-2s. You have to bring your team in the same way. If an audience isn't laughing at your Route 1 jokes, you maybe have to do a bit of crowd work. You've got to do some
and also with soccer, you need to be ahead of where the defenders are mentally. And in comedy, you have to be ahead of where the audience is mentally. But you still have to be playing off of their responses and their reactions. Like if you're doing soccer and you're dribbling the ball up against a defender, you can't just do your fakes and your moves and just expect them to work. You have to see how they're reacting to you and then improvise on the spot how to get around them. Okay. Or, and with comedy, it's the same thing. It's stand-up comedy is not a monologue. It's like a mix of a monologue and a dialogue. So, like, I've thought about it before. Like, if I ever had to choose between going blind or going deaf, I would probably go blind, because as a comic, I'm listening to the audience more than I'm actually looking at them.
Another analogy between football, soccer, sorry, and stand-up comedy, that nobody, and I underline nobody, from the audience must think I should be there instead of him.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, you'll be watching a soccer game and you're like, what is that guy doing over there? Pass it to that guy. Right, exactly.
And you know something? That is something, again, I don't want to keep name dropping, but when Rude
Don't name drop. I love these stories. I can't believe you know these guys and talk to them. But name drop all you want. This is awesome.
I played a pro celebrity soccer tournament, and I was about to score a goal, and Ruud Gullit, you know Ruud Gullit, who played for Holland?
Of course, sexy football.
Sexy football. He came up on my right, like, give me the ball and he scored. But I thought, he's a 2-time World Player of the Year. This means nothing to him. This is live on television. I want my moment of glory. And as I went to shoot, the defender took the ball away from me, and he was so angry with me. And he said, why didn't you pass me the ball? I said, Ruud, I never saw you. He said, you look me in the eyes. You look me in the eyes. And I made the...
Hold on 1 second. I got something to show you. Hold on.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make is that, look at How to Watch Soccer with Ruud. Well done.
I have his book here.
That's fantastic. But Judah, let me tell you this. This is what Ruud taught me, because he's also quite a philosophical guy. He goes,
yeah.
What did you do wrong? I said, I made the wrong decision. He said, what makes a crowd go crazy? I said, missing the goal. He goes, no. When a player makes the wrong decision, that's when the crowd, because they can see. Yeah, and he said, when you're playing football, every second you have the ball, you're making 4 to 5 decisions. He goes, life is about decision making, as it is in football. Decision making. And he goes, that is the most important thing in football. And that's what happens behind the scenes in training. They're always training about decision making. They're always the videos they show after the game. What did you do wrong? So it's all about eliminating mistakes in decision making.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've taken that seriously in my life, that every decision I make, when I wake up in the morning, how do I wake up? Do I say, listen, you fat fuck, what are you going to do? I say, no. I say, good morning, Omid. What a beautiful day. I have this a more positive way. Ruud taught me that there's decisions you make every single part of the day that affects the way you live.
That's great philosophy. And that's something like, on stage, I'm very good at that stuff. Off stage, I'm usually a mess, and I need to get better on that.
That's it. That's comedians.
Yeah. So it's like I would tell people that I would tell them, like, stand-up comedy is the most relaxing thing I do. They're like, it must be so stressful. I'm like, no, doing the show is the most relaxing thing I do.
Luca, this is the big trick. This is the big lie they tell us. They goes, oh, that's not really you upstage. That's the real you. When you see Judah Friedlander, if you want to know him, see him on stage. That's the real Judah Friedlander. The Judah Friedlander, the fucked up Judah Friedlander, is off stage in a corner of the house in a fetal position.
Right. Off stage, it's like life is kicking your ass, and you're trying to figure out how to get through it. And on stage, you got your shit together. Yeah, I'm working on and I'm getting better, but this has been a great, and Luca, this has been a great, insightful talk, because it's inspiring me to get better off stage as well.
Decisions all the time. I remember there was a guy asleep I was doing a theater show, actually. It was a one-man theater show, and they were expecting stand-up comedy, so they were bored, and there was a guy asleep. There was a guy, and just before the most important thing, another guy walked past me to leave. And I came out. I said, you know what? That's great. You know, he could have left around the back, but he came around the front. And I said, look at this guy. He's been asleep. And I just thought, I just decided to kick him. His leg was crossed over, and I kicked the bottom of his foot, and he woke up, and it just suddenly ignited the whole room. And I played with him, and I dealt with the elephant in the room, which was they were expecting a stand-up show, but they were getting a theater show. But I used my stand-up comedy skills to deflate the tension in the room, and then we had a great show. So it's decisions, and sometimes you have to be able to take a risk. I think it was
yeah.
a risk. It was a risk. That's what we do. We're also risk takers. And sometimes it's disastrous, but it's important to develop a thick skin, to have a thick skin that if the risk goes wrong, you don't collapse.
They're all great points. And also as a comic, the more risks you take, you're going to get better at taking risks. I mean, that's one area where I think soccer and comedy are quite different. You know, in soccer, if you want to win, it's often better not to take too many risks. You know, like if you look at like the Brazil 1982 World Cup team, which was a phenomenal team. And I remember when a kid, I'm like, how the hell did these guys lose? And that's because they take some risks, you know, and, you know, it's not solid defense. And so much of comedy is offense, if for lack of a better term, you know.
Judah, can I pick up on what you've just said there?
Yeah.
And actually, this is very important to bring this back to Italy. The day that Brazilian football changed was the 82 World Cup, as you said, when they lost 3-2 to Italy, when Paolo Rossi scored a hat-trick.
Yeah.
Because it was unexpected. And even at 2-2, the Brazilians thought they're no way going to lose this game. And then when that happened, it was beautiful football ended because the whole Brazilian Federation had meetings saying, that's it. We're not doing this flowery football. Eder is not going to do those curly free kicks. Zico, forget about his free kicks. We are going to play proper defensive football, and we are going to win.
Yeah.
That all changed after Italy beat them. All completely changed. Amazing that you brought that up, actually.
So Italy gets the credit for changing
Brazilian
the
football.
entire country of Brazil's national strategy.
We are coming back to the first question of the night.
I mean, that's impressive.
Yes.
It's a circle.
First question. We've come a circle. We've come a complete
That
circle.
makes a good conversation.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation. It's because of you Italians, you think in that more philosophical way, which is inspiring. I think.
We are tragic.
Yes.
We are tragic. We have the sense of tragic.
You have a sense. We have a sense of the. Only an Italian comedian would say we have a sense of the tragic.
Yeah. Definitely.
We'll have to have a part 2 here. We got to have a part 2. I want to hear more
two.
about
your
guys' soccer careers and stuff. I want to hear more about it.
I live in a little town near Rome, and I play for the team of my town. Today, this team is in Serie B.
So you play
cool.
Serie B.
Serie B is the second, the second championship.
I know it. Yeah.
Frosinone si chiama.
Can you confirm if this story is true? That back in October, Lukaku was the recipient of some racist chanting by the Cagliari.
Yeah.
Can you confirm if this is true that the Inter Milan fans sent him a letter saying, don't be upset because they're just doing that to put you off. We would do the same to their players as well. This is part of Italian psychology, that we're not racist, but we use racism to get into people's heads. Is that a true story? Napoli, Naples is very different to the rest of Italy, and they all think that they're all unwashed, uncouth people. So every Saturday, teams around Serie A are fined for a racist chant. That even if they're not playing Napoli, they'll sing about the Naples people.
Wow.
Who are so dirty they need to be cleaned with the flames of Vesuvius.
Horrible. I got educated just a little bit on that because I was watching. I only saw part of it so far, but I saw about half of a documentary on Diego Maradona.
Oh, amazing.
And he played for Naples, so they talked about some of those bigotries. Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. And I think that was, he went too far. I think actually Luca explained it to me that he was a big hero in Naples until Argentina played Italy in the semifinals. And he asked the journalists and he asked the people of Napoli to support the Argentinian team because the rest of Italy were the enemy. They've always seen you as lower. And then the Naples journalists said, you know what? He's right. And they all turned against their own team.
Yeah, it was split. The audience
They were split. Yeah, they were split.
Wow.
Argentina won the game on penalties, and they never forgave him. So I think the next season, where he'd been passing all these drugs tests, suddenly he didn't pass them, and they kicked him out.
Crazy.
Unbelievable.
Crazy Italian
Well,
story.
I have to get running.
Tragedy. We have
You're
a
right.
sense of tragedy. That's why.
It's a tragedy. Well, guys, this has been amazing. We should do a part 2, definitely.
Guys,
Definitely.
3 minutes to go, so I want to thank you very much, really.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you. We all saw what happened. If you were on the terraces, what would you have said to yourself?
Pass the ball to Hulit, you fat idiot.